Game on, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Box Score Radio, brought to you by the Keaton Podcasting Network. I'm your host, Jay Keaton. It is Monday, February 25th, 2019. I am back at it, almost 100%. I missed Tuesday through Friday last week. I was sick. The whole family was sick. So I might sound a little raspy today because I'm still, like I said, not 100%, still trying to get over this flu. But I am good enough to be back here doing this podcast. So I will try my best today. Got a great show for you. A lot of good sports action over the weekend. Starting off with the Alliance of American Football. Had week 3 this weekend. The Salt Lake Stallions defeated the Arizona Hotshots 23-15. That is the first win for the Salt Lake Stallions. Player of the game, QB Josh Woodrum for Salt Lake. He was 22 of 31, 178 yards and a touchdown. For Arizona, their player of the game, QB John Walford. He was 14 of 22, 127 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. A costly interception. That was pretty much the difference of the game. That was the lone turnover of the game. Also a big difference, time of possession. Salt Lake had the ball 36 minutes. Arizona had the ball 23 minutes, 43 seconds. So good win for Salt Lake. They find themselves avoiding the 0-3 curse, so to speak. They still have one of the worst uniforms in the league, but at least they got the win. The Orlando Apollos defeat the Memphis Express 21-17. Players of the game for Orlando, QB Garrett Gilbert, who I believe should be in the NFL. He's definitely one of the stars right now in the league. He was 14 of 28, 207 yards and a touchdown. And he also had 7 carries, 43 yards, and a rushing touchdown. Lighting it up every single week is Garrett Gilbert. For Memphis, their player of the game, QB Zach Mettenberger, former LSU QB. He was 9 of 12, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. I also had a name drop. Trevor Knight, former Oklahoma quarterback. You might remember him. He plays, or does he play for Arizona? He plays for Arizona, excuse me. Name drop Arizona QB Trevor Knight. I heard about his name this weekend. This is the first time this year. But Zach Mettenberger, 9 of 12, 120 yards, 2 scores. Difference in the game, turnovers. Memphis turned the ball over 2 times, had 2 interceptions. And Orlando 0 turnovers. Steve Spurrier's team's looking pretty damn good. I think they're probably, power rankings-wise, the best team in the AAF. Birmingham Iron defeat the Atlanta Legends 28-12. Player of the game for Birmingham, running back Trent Richardson. He had 17 carries, 46 yards, 3 scores. For Atlanta, QB Matt Sims, he was 28 of 48, 328 yards, 1 score, but he did have 3 costly interceptions. Key stats of the game, like I mentioned, turnovers. Atlanta had 4, Birmingham had 2. Birmingham makes their living off turnovers. They remind me a lot of New England. They're nickel and dime down the field, mix of run and pass, and they also rely heavily on turnovers to win the game. Total yards, Birmingham was outgained 346 to 234. So it goes to show you how much they rely on turnovers. Penalties was also a big difference here. Atlanta had 9 penalties for 102 yards. That's at least 1 score you're off the board just from penalties. So Birmingham, Orlando, 2 undefeated teams right now, sitting at 3-0. And I believe they are the only 2 undefeated teams right now in the AAF. The final game of the weekend, San Diego Fleet defeat the San Antonio Commanders 31-11. Players of the game for San Diego, running back Jaquan Gardner. He had 12 carries, 122 yards, and a touchdown. Just like Garrett Gilbert, he's another standout right now in the league. I wouldn't be surprised if he's on an NFL team. He's got unbelievable track speed. He's got breakaway speed, great agility. He can run. He can catch. I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the NFL next year. For San Antonio, player of the game, wide receiver Mikael McKay, 4 receptions, 91 yards, and a score. Key stats of this game, total yards. San Diego had 381. San Antonio had 291. Penalties also huge. San Antonio had 9 penalties for 80 yards. That's at least one score you're taking off the board from mistakes. So good win for San Diego, and it was a great weekend for the AAF. Every single week is getting better and better. It's not shitty football. It's good coached football. I mean, you got Mike Singletary, Mike March, Steve Spurrier, former Oregon State coach Mike Riley. He's there. So you got good coaches, good players trying to make it into the NFL, knowing that the NFL is watching them. I'm all in on this right now. It's exciting. The fans are going nuts. They're starting to fill out the stadiums. It's only halfway full, but still, considering it's near the end of February, and you got people showing up for football games, it means a lot. So I have joined the Alliance. I am all in on it, and I advise anybody to start watching this. This is exciting stuff. UFC, Saturday night, UFC Fight Night in Prague. I was subscribing. I am a recent subscriber of ESPN Plus, and so I get all these. With ESPN Plus, you get all the UFC Fight Nights, formerly on UFC Fox. So, and there's a lot of good cards coming up. Notable fights on UFC Fight Night in Prague this past weekend. Peter Yan defeated John the Magician Dotson by unanimous decision. This was a bantamweight fight. Peter Yan, who is 10-1, 25 years old, he's slowly moving up the rankings and looking like a serious contender. He's very aggressive. He has great octagon control. He's tough. He took a couple of good shots and kept coming. Total strikes in this one, 102 of 180 was Peter Yan. John Dotson was 35 of 86, was really the difference of the fight. Yan's ability to catch him and deliver great combinations. It was clear, even against a fast fighter like John Dotson. So congratulations to him. Another interesting fight was Liz Carmouche defeating Lucy Paladova. Of course, this was in the Czech Republic, and Paladova was the hometown girl, and she was cheered, and Liz Carmouche was booed out of the arena. And I've never heard this before. When it comes to female fighters, it's a lot like stand-up comedy in regards of the reason that women can make it, even though they're not as funny as men. Let's just be honest here. They're not as funny as men when it comes to stand-up comedy is because at comedy clubs, it's usually 50-50 between men and women in the audience, and you just can't really imagine a woman being booed off the stage. People are going to be afraid to heckle a woman just because, it's that sensitivity factor. And so it's kind of hard to imagine a woman, a female fighter in the UFC or any mixed martial arts league, getting booed as badly as she was. I mean, she doesn't talk shit. She's an American hero. She did 2 tours in Iraq. She was clearly it wasn't a controversial decision. She was clearly the winner. I mean, she landed 40 of 56 total strikes, and she was 3 of 3 of takedowns, dominated her on the ground. But Liz Carmouche was, after the fight, and she was announced the winner, it was just, she couldn't even hear herself. She couldn't even hear the announcer asking the questions. It was so freaking loud of all the boos. I've never seen that before. That's the first time that I've seen a woman getting booed out of the arena like that. And she did nothing wrong. So it was crazy to see, but it was a good win for her. She's the first female fighter to compete in the UFC, so it was good for her. She's a legend right now in the sport. It was good for her to get a win. And also a legend, Stefan Struve defeated Marcos Rogério by submission in the second round. Stefan Struve, 7 foot tall, probably the tallest man in mixed martial arts. He got outstruck 68-2 in total strikes, significant strikes. He was 0 of 3. Marcos Rogério was 25 of 32. The difference, though, was, Struve was knocked down in the first round. Thought the fight was going to be over. Rogério was on top of him, ground and pound, good shots. End of the first round, going into the second round, Struve was able to get the takedown, used his experience, got him in a arm triangle, submitted him for mount, and that was all she wrote. So it talks about the levels of the game. You can be a good striker, but you got to be well-rounded mixed martial artist in order to win at this level. And Struve also said after the fight that he is hinting he's 99.9% sure that he is done in the UFC. He's only 30 years old, but he's been fighting since he was 20. I remember him, I think it was like the John Jones. Was it John Jones? No, it was the Lyoto Machida Shogun Rua second fight. I remember watching him. He was the co-main event for that one. He was the co-main event here. So if that is it for Stefan Struve, congratulations on a great career. Like I said, never got a title shot. Wasn't the best, but always gave great performances. And finally, main event. And this was probably the fight of the night. Thiago Santos defeats John Blankovic by third round TKO. Thiago Santos, he's got like 3 or 4 victories under his belt, in a row. He's definitely in line for a title shot at light heavyweight. It's John Jones and everybody else right now in that division, so he definitely earned his way, I think, to at least be in discussion, possibly top 5 ranking right now. But total strikes, 52 of 104. Also significant strikes, 52 of 104 for Santos. John Blankovic, who's pretty much the light heavyweight version of Stipe Miocic, looks just like him. He was only 20 of 53 on significant strikes. 2 very aggressive guys at light heavyweight, but Santos was able to catch him with a counter left, dropped him, and Blankovic was just covering up. He knew he was down, and Santos was just giving him the hammer fist, and that was all she wrote. So it was a good UFC card. Some exciting fights, and when it ends in a KO like that, it's pretty much a success. All right, NCAA men's basketball. Saturday scores. Some of the top games. I have to say this one. Number 1, Notre Dame falls to number 20, Virginia Tech, 67-59. I was hoping Notre Dame would be able to pull the upset on this one. But they just don't have any standout players. They're just not good enough from top to bottom right now this year. Mike Bray's a great coach, but you just got to have the talent. Players of the game, Kerry Blackshear for Virginia Tech. He had 22 points, 14 rebounds. For Notre Dame, T.J. Gibbs, he had 18 points. Rebounding was the difference in the game. Virginia Tech out-rebounded Notre Dame 49-27. They also shot better from the free throw line, 24 of 31. So, which was inevitably the difference in the game. So, unfortunately, my Irish fall short of another upset bid. They're now 13-14 on the season. They're without question out of the tournament discussion, but I'm hoping for at least a good upset in the ACC. Number 14 Texas Tech defeats number 12 Kansas 91-62. Players of the game for Texas Tech, Jarrett Culver. He had 26 points. For Kansas, Dedrick Lawson, 14 points, 5 rebounds. Field goals were the difference here. 34 of 56 was Texas Tech. 22 of 48 was Kansas. 3-point percentage. Remember what I always say. You shoot 50% or above in 3-point land, you're going to win the game 99 times out of 100. 3-point percentage, 61% for Texas Tech. So enough said. And it's a shock. It's shocking to me to see Kansas be this bad. I mean, I've never seen them, and they're not even in first place in the Big 12. They're not in the top 10. And for a school that's always top 4 in recruiting, this is unacceptable. Number 8, UNC defeats number 16, Florida State, 77-59. Players of the game for UNC, Luke May. He had 15 points, 11 rebounds. For Florida State, David Nichols, he contributed with 16 points. Rebounding was the difference here. UNC had 47, Florida State had 32. Game of the weekend. Number 13 LSU defeats number 5 Tennessee in overtime, 82-80. It was tied up at 80 in overtime, and Tennessee missed a three-pointer. LSU got the rebound, and there was a contact after the LSU guy got the ball, and they were already in the double bonus, so they got 2 free throws. LSU knocked them both down, and with 0.6 seconds left, and that was all she wrote. Player of the game, Javonte Smart, 29 points for LSU. Admiral Schofield for Tennessee, he had 27 points, 9 rebounds. He did his part. Turnovers were the key here. Tennessee had 14 to LSU's 7. Double the turnovers, double the chance for the other team to score. So, inevitably, that's what did them in. It was a questionable call at the end, but in the end, it is what it is, and you can't let the referees dictate the game by making it close. Number 3, Virginia over number 18, Louisville, 64-52. This game was pretty close in the second half, and then all of a sudden there was a questionable, it wasn't questionable, it was a bad call, it was a bad charging call against Louisville, and ever since then, Virginia just took the game over, had all the momentum. Players of the game for Virginia, DeAndre Hunter, 26 points. For Louisville, Jordan Nora, 17 points. Field goal percentage was key here, 46% for Virginia, 30% for Louisville. And rebounds were also a big factor for Virginia. They had 39 to Louisville's 28. So Virginia keeps winning ugly, but they do keep winning. And finally, number 1 Duke defeats unranked Syracuse, 75-65, R.J. Barrett, 30 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. He did his part. For Syracuse, Elijah Hughes, 12 points, 7 rebounds. Free throw percentage, Duke was beneficiary here. They shot 87% from the charity stripe. Syracuse shot 63%. It was amazing to see Jim Boeheim coaching this game 4 days out of killing somebody with the vehicular manslaughter. But, hey, I don't know. I guess when you've been doing it so long, I guess nothing stops you. So that was pretty much the good basketball for Saturday. And since it is Monday, we have new basketball rankings that just came out. So here's your new AP Top 25. Number 1, Gonzaga. Number 2, Virginia. Number 3, Duke. Number 4, Kentucky. Number 5, UNC. 6 through 10, you got Michigan State, Tennessee, Houston, Michigan, Marquette. 11 through 15, you got Texas Tech, Nevada, LSU, Purdue, and Kansas. 16 through 20, you got Kansas State, Maryland, Florida State, Wisconsin, Virginia Tech. And 21 through 25, you got Buffalo, Iowa, Cincinnati, Wofford, who has made the jump into the top 25 with a 24-4 record. And finally, at number 25, you got the Washington Huskies. All right, NCAA women's basketball. Sunday scores. Let's run through these real quick. Top 25 action. Number 2, Oregon defeats USC 96-78. Number 3, UConn over Tulsa 68-49. Number 4, Louisville over Boston College 87-51. Number 6, Mississippi State over Vanderbilt 86-70. Number 7 Stanford defeats number 17 Arizona State 71-50. NC State over North Carolina 74-69. Number 11 Marquette over Xavier 79-53. Number 12 Oregon State over UCLA 75-72. Number 13 South Carolina defeats Tennessee 82-67. Number 14 Miami over number 22 Florida State 64-54. The Lady Hurricanes are moving up. They're looking real good right now. They are probably the hottest team in women's college basketball right now. Number 16 Kentucky over LSU 57-52. South Dakota State in overtime defeats South Dakota 82-78. And finally, number 24 Drake defeats Indiana State 96-67. And we have a new top 25 for the women's rankings. Number 1 Baylor, number 2 Connecticut, number 3 Louisville, number 4 Notre Dame, number 5 Mississippi State. 6 through 10, you got Oregon, Stanford, Maryland, Oregon State, NC State. 11 through 15, Kentucky, Iowa, Marquette, South Carolina, and Miami. 16 through 20, Gonzaga, Syracuse, Texas, Texas A&M, Iowa State. And finally, top 25 at number 21 through 25, Arizona State, Florida State, Drake, Rice, and finally UCLA. UCLA moved into the top 25 after losing, and they're 17-11 on the season. That's pretty ridiculous. I'll never understand that. All right, NBA Sunday scores. The Magic over the Raptors 113-98. Terrence Ross was the player of the game for the Magic. He had 28 points, 9 rebounds. For the Raptors, you got Kyle Lowry, 19 points, 4 rebounds, 10 assists. And the rebounding was the difference in the game. The Magic out-rebounded the Raptors 60-50. All the other stats were pretty much just 1 or 2 baskets more. 1 or 2 baskets, free throw line, 2-pointers, 3-pointers. That was pretty much the difference in the game. The Nuggets over the Clippers, 123-96. Nikola Jokic, 22 points, 16 rebounds for the Nuggets. For the Clippers, player of the game, Lou Williams, 24 points. Field goal percentage was key here, 52% for the Nuggets, 34% for the Clippers. 3-pointers were also huge for the Nuggets. They were 12 of 34. The Clippers shot 3 of 21 from downtown. The Knicks snap an 18-game home losing streak. They defeat the Spurs. Yes, the Greg Popovich-led Spurs, which is slowly going downhill because he's continuously talking about things other than basketball. He's trying to enter into being a politician rather than coaching, and without the stars that he formerly had, because he doesn't have a big star anymore. They're pretty much a 500 team. He's a good coach, but he ain't a great coach. But the Knicks defeat the Spurs 130-118. Damian Dotson was the leading scorer of the night for the Knicks. He had 27 points, 5 rebounds. Leading scorer of the night was DeMar DeRozan for the Spurs. He had 32. 3-point shooting was key here. The Knicks shot 16 of 37 from downtown. The Spurs were 6 of 24. Okay, NHL Sunday action. Let's run through these scores. Capitals over the Rangers 6-5 in overtime. Sharks defeat the Red Wings 5-3. Stars over the Blackhawks 4-3. Flames over the Senators 2-1. The Wild defeat the Blues in overtime 2-1. And the Coyotes defeat the Jets 4-1. All right, so that wraps up games from the weekend. How about games to watch tonight? You got my Irish taking on number 18 Florida State. I'm hoping they can try to pull off one more upset. I think they can actually get Florida State tonight. I don't have the guts, though, to call the upset, but I'm going to say Florida State wins a close one. But who knows, though? I mean, this could be one of those games that Florida State overlooks and everything just clicks for the Irish tonight. But keep an eye on that one. Men's basketball, you got number 15 Kansas taking on rival number 16 Kansas State. That should be a good one. Kansas is a 5-point favorite. I think they win by 6, 76-60. Women's basketball, you got number 1 Baylor against number 18 Texas. I'm going to go with number 1 Baylor in that one. And number 4 Notre Dame takes on number 17 Syracuse. And I think Syracuse makes it close, but the Irish prevail 71-65. Lower scoring game. So that is it for Box Score Radio today. And remember, you can follow the show on Twitter at Box Score Radio. And that is it, folks. Excuse me. I will get better every day as long as I don't get sick. Thanks for tuning in.